Welcome to Best Guest. So, what do you think about WandaVision?
I liked it a lot. I liked that it showed quite a bit of comic references with their suits and stuff.
Yeah, like the Halloween episode and everything. Yeah, I think, I think the way that it was filmed, the cinematography of it all, and how they use like every decade, I think that was very. I think that was different. I think that's something we haven't really seen before from like specifically the MCU, but in really anything where they use every decade. That and also the way that there was a twist. Everyone was saying, "Oh, it's Mephisto. Mephisto's gonna be the big bad," and then it was not. It was Agatha Harkness. What'd you think of Agatha?
I wasn't a big fan of her. I didn't really like the way she was designed in the show.
Okay.
I did not like the way they introduced her into it.
I mean, generally in comics, she's the one like training more magic-based superheroes. She's not a villain, and I think it was a little cool, like unnecessarily cool, when she had like the kids on the ropes or whatever. So I think as a villain, she was all right. I didn't fully understand, other than she just wanted to get like more power. I didn't fully understand her motives necessarily. You know what I mean?
What did you think about White Vision?
I think it was cool, and the way they introduced it made sense. I think when that first interaction between Vision and White Vision, I think that was cool to see and everything. I feel like it kind of ended in terms of White Vision abruptly, you know, because we don't know where he went. He just like flew off, and then that was about it. He got what he needed to know, and then he left. I mean, I imagine he's gonna be in other Avengers movies.
Yeah, most likely.
And he's gonna show up again. It wouldn't make any sense that he wouldn't. But I didn't really understand. They could have at least showed like a vague idea of where he was going. Like maybe like him flying, and then like what he's flying over, and then that gives us an idea of where he's going and everything. What'd you think of the twins and how they kind of disappeared in the end?
I kind of liked it. It was okay. I liked that during the Halloween episode. I liked that they had like more comic references. I guess.
Yeah.
With the costumes and stuff.
Yeah.
I like the way that they found out about their powers too.
Yeah. I felt like since it is a limited series and everything, and they only had 9 episodes to work with, which is more than the other MCU Disney Plus shows, but they only had 9 episodes to work with, so they had to fit a whole storyline in that little time. I think the way it ended with the twins was good, but the way that tied into Multiverse of Madness later on, a little messy. But I did like how the twins were introduced, the whole thing with Sparky, and then that being referenced in the Agatha All Along song. But the twins as a whole, I think that turned out really well. I kind of wish that they weren't fake, you know? And as a Scarlet Witch story arc overall, I'm a little disappointed that we never seen Wakan and Speed actually like become full-fledged heroes later on, since they were fake. But I do think as a whole, WandaVision was a good show, and the way that they were able to use the Westview as a place, and how Wanda transformed that, and like how it showed her like manifesting everything. What did you think about Monica Rambeau and how she got her powers and everything?
It's kind of weird to me. I don't know how going through, I don't know what to call it,
The hex.
yeah, I don't know how that'd give you powers.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because she had been out of it once.
Mhm.
So she had been in it, and then she was out of it. And then, because the first time that she went in, it kind of sucked her in. But that last time that she went in, it was like she was struggling to go through. It was kind of inconsistent on how the hex would affect people. Because sometimes they would just like blast it out of it. And then when Vision came out, I guess that it makes sense with Vision because he was fake. That he fell apart, but it didn't really affect him other than making him fall apart. It didn't really do anything else that would enhance him, like it did with Monica.
Another thing with Monica, just like White Vision, it didn't really show us where she went or anything.
Yeah. I mean, this was the introduction of Sword, and it's a little weird that this is how they introduce Sword, and how like, oh, Sword exists. That's interesting. There's not really a basis for it. Or why we haven't heard of it previously. But I think Monica's story of how like her mom and stuff, so like during the snap when everybody came back and everything, I think it was interesting to see how that was like the first time we really seen how the snap affected people in terms of when they came back, because we seen in like Infinity War and Far From Home how disappearing affected people, and like in Black Widow, and then we started to see how with the coming back affected people, how people did die during that time, and how people didn't realize that it was 4 years and everything. But I think as a whole, WandaVision handled that well. With I believe it was episode 4 when it showed Monica coming back from being snapped and how her mom had passed during that time. What did you think about how like Quicksilver was handled? Ralph Boner.
I wasn't a fan of it. I wish they would have brought in the Quicksilver from Age of Ultron instead of bringing in the one from
The
X-Men.
X-Men universe. Yeah. It doesn't. I feel like that was just kind of a way to get people to watch the show, because they're like, oh, are they merging? Are all the X-Men coming over? Especially because the House of M comic, where a lot of that was based off of, Scarlet Witch eventually says no more mutants and they all go away, and that wasn't like they pick and choose what they used in WandaVision. And I feel like having that Pietro, that Quicksilver in the show was just a way to get people to watch.
Yeah.
And I was a little disappointed by that. Well, so as a whole, how would you rate the show?
I'd rate it probably one of the better shows that Marvel could do, probably.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely one of the better, especially on a cinematography standpoint, and how it kind of got weirder and weirder.
Yeah.
Like the first episode, and then how he's choking, Mr. Hart is choking, and then they're just kind of like all staring at it. And then how that one red helicopter came in.
Oh yeah.
I think that was interesting. So it was cool to see the show, and how it changed from like black and white TV that's a little weird to a full on action filled show, action packed. I think Hayward. There's theories about how Hayward was like Ultron as a human or something, and so that ended up being funny. But the way Hayward was handled, I think he was a pretty good villain. I'm a little disappointed he wasn't introduced more sooner, and it wasn't made clear that he was a villain. Because like when Darcy came in and everything. Also, what do you think of Darcy coming in? That was her first appearance since Thor.
I liked that they like thought about her.
Yeah.
Brought her back in and stuff.
Yeah, it felt a little bit out of place in a way, because she's not really involved with the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
She's just in a couple Thor movies. But I think her character is handled well. Especially and Jimmy Woo too. I think bring him back from Ant-Man, that was nice too. I think that going back to Hayward, I think Hayward was handled well, and but the one thing about Hayward is I wish that he was introduced earlier, and that it was more clear that he was a villain. Then it was just like, oh yeah, by the way, he's got this white vision in the thing in an end credit scene. So it was like a little hidden to find that out, that he's a villain, only for it to become a big part of the show. I also think that like the way that the whole show handled its characters was pretty well, and the Visions from like the way Vision was like a skeptic of everything that was going on, and how he was like exploring in the Halloween episode, exploring and seeing everybody like moving like a little bit, and then talking to Agnes. But I think in terms of from a character standpoint, it was great. I think the biggest thing I have in the biggest problem I have in the show is the way that it led to Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. But that's for another episode of Multiverse of Madness. So overall, I agree that it is one of the better. It's definitely not the best, but it's one of the other, and I think it was a great way to start off Phase 4.
Yeah.
And then all of the coming Disney Plus shows. Well, thanks for coming on the show, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. And remember, you can email us at best.guest.podcast@gmail.com. And make sure you share this video. And we'll see you next week.